Hello, and welcome back to the Empower Her podcast. What if you could create an alter ego version of yourself to manifest all of your goals and dreams? If you didn't catch last week's episode on the pod, we talked about the law of detachment. If you haven't listened to it, I would definitely go listen to it before you listen to this one, because this will definitely build on why a alter ego is so crucial and can be so important. So, detaching emotionally from outcomes and stories is really how you're going to be able to move through life with more abundance. And today I want to give you a very specific example of how you can actually detach yourself, so that you can have more abundance in whatever situation you're in. I was just in Miami a couple weeks ago, which I just felt so abundant. I'm a water baby. I love being in the sun, and I was there for a week and I felt so rejuvenated after I came home. I really didn't do much, just spend time with my family, but was in the pool, the ocean, laying out, tanning, and I just felt so rejuvenated, so abundant. And one of the things I ended up doing, I was literally at the pool when I did this, is I created an alter ego version of myself, right? I have goals for myself this year, and I wanted to create an alter ego version so that I could envision my highest self, what that person looks like. But the reason I create an alter ego version, not just a highest version of myself, is because this is going to help me and has been helping me detach from the outcome emotionally. So I gave her a new name. I wrote down how she would think, feel, act, dress in situations. And that way, when I'm thinking about my highest self, I can refer to my alter ego and I can then embody her. I'm going to give you the exact prompts, but before we do that, let's just kind of discuss why the alter ego and why it's so important. So when we're creating an alter ego version, it should be the version of you that has all of their dreams, right? The version of you that's achieved their goals. Now, we don't have to think of a version of you like 10 years from now, right? Like, let's be realistic. I would say, I usually recommend goals for 6 months. I always do goals for like 6 months, and I do my vision board for 6 months because that time frame feels close enough, yet still enough time for me to actually achieve certain things. You can also do a year, but I really wouldn't recommend doing way more than that. I just think you change and you adapt. And so you can always create or update your alter ego later down the line. But you want to think of a version of you that feels attainable, but still has a bit of a challenge and has challenging things that they can reach. So what you're going to do when you create this alter ego is you're going to think of yourself in 6 to 12 months, whatever you decide. Think of the goals you want. Think of what you want to achieve. Think of the person you want to be. And you are going to create a version of yourself in an alter ego form that embodies all of these things, right? So we're not just talking about, oh, they have money and they have whatever. It's, okay, they have money, but how are they feeling about money? What is their relationship to budgeting? How much do they save a month, right? What do they spend their money on? Right? It's about those thoughts, feelings, beliefs, emotions that person is actually experiencing, not just simply they have the goals, right? Because, having the goals isn't going to tell us how they can actually get there. It's just saying that they have those things, but we want to know how this person can get there. So when you're trying to assess the situation and when you're trying to understand your alter ego, you want to again think of that highest version of yourself, right? So basically, the reason the alter ego is so important is because you're detaching yourself from the outcome. So you're not saying, oh, my worth is tied to whether or not I reach these goals. You're saying, I have an alter ego version of myself. And you can ask yourself every day, like, have I embodied their name today? What would name do in this situation? So it almost gives you a way to look up to someone, but that someone is yourself, but it doesn't feel like yourself. So it's kind of detached. So that's what makes it so great. And this is going to help us reach our goal. So if you're listening to this, take out a pen and a paper or write it in your phone. I'm going to give you the exact sections, prompts to ask yourself that I did to go through this. And I'm going to take you through the formula so you can create your alter ego. Okay, ready for this? Get everything out. All right. So first thing we're going to talk about is identity and energy. What is her nickname? What is her name? So I picked my name. I did Diana because my name is spelled like Diana, but it's Deanna. But everyone, when they see it written, they call me Diana. And like as a joke, people have called me Princess Diana, mostly men. That's a whole other conversation. And so I felt like that's a really good alter ego version of myself because it still feels like me, but it feels a little detached. So mine is Diana. What energy does she walk in the room with? Like, what's the energy? So I don't have my paper in front of me, but things I said were, I think, like sexy, confident, like she doesn't care what other people think. What are 3 words that describe her presence? So think about 3 words that describe the alter ego version of you's presence. How does she carry herself physically? We're talking about expression, pace, posture. I said things like, I wanted to walk into a room with excellent posture, slowing down, not speeding through, because when I get nervous, I tend to like move fast. I want to be happy. I want to smile. I want to have like a glow on my face because I often have a resting bitch face. So just like having that glow. What is her voice like when she speaks? And I think I said like calm and confident, and that I speak when I want to say something, right? And that can be interpreted in multiple ways. Like I don't have to talk in every situation, or I talk in situations even when maybe they don't want me to talk, right? The next section we're going to talk about is money and abundance. So how much money does she make and how? So this is like the very specifics of how much money. So I wrote down a number. I wrote how much was in my bank account, right? What does her bank account look like? You can do savings. You can do like, what does your credit card look like? You can do whatever. And then we're talking about how does she feel when she checks her bank account? So again, what are those feelings that you feel? Is it abundance? Is it positivity? Is it like you can conquer the world? Like what are those feelings? What are her go-to money habits and mindsets? This is important because again, we're talking about those things beyond how much money is in your bank account. What does she never apologize for when it comes to money? This was a really good question that I had to definitely reflect on of like, what do I not apologize for? Right? And so for me, it was having money, because I think I have a scarcity of even having it, right? And so I'm not going to apologize for having money or for spending it on things that I like or being reasonable with the way I spend my money. Those are all things that are really important. The next section is health and body. So what does her body feel like to live in? As someone who, I mentioned this, I think on the podcast, is I've gone through a big transformation the last couple of months. I found out that I'm insulin resistant. My thyroid wasn't working properly. So I've been taking a lot of supplements. I ended up taking metformin, and I've been on that for about 2 months now. And so I've personally gone through a lot of changes in my body, positive ones, thankfully, finally. So really for me, it was like, okay, what body do I want to live in? How do I want to feel? Like other questions are, what foods does this person eat? How does she move her body? How does she dress her body, right? I also wanted to put like my personal style. How does she feel when she looks in the mirror? How does she treat her body with love and respect, right? Like thinking about how you talk to your body, how you look at your body, how you feel about your body, how you treat it, right? So the food you put in, how you move your body, all these things, like what does that alter ego version of you do in terms of health and body? How does it feel? What does that look like? And again, notice none of these questions are how many pounds am I, right? Or how small is my waist? Like we're not talking about that. We're talking about how it feels. What do you think about yourself? How do you treat yourself? Because that's so much more important. The next one is love and relationships. And again, not just romantic, but any kind of relationship. So who surrounds this person, right? What kind of friends? Does she not have a partner? What about a team, right? I wrote down a team. I was like, I want to have a team of people that I work with. How does her partner treat her if you have a partner? Or how do your friends treat you? How do your family treat you? What kind of love does she receive daily? Again, doesn't need to be romantic love. What are her boundaries and how does she uphold them? It's a really good question because a lot of times my clients don't have boundaries. I didn't have boundaries in every area. So how do I set those and then how do I uphold them? What conversations light her up? I love this question because I wrote down topics that I like to talk about, like astrology, spirituality, things like that. And I feel like this is a way of manifesting it, that I'm going to attract people in my life who like talking about these things. So this is a great manifestation tool as well, doing this alter ego. The next section is home and environment. So where does this person live? Be very specific. The city, the neighborhood, the country, all the things. As someone who wants to move and is planning on moving, hopefully it's not up to us, unfortunately, but we would like to move. I have been envisioning my new space. I have a vision. I've actually done a visualization exercise for, I think, for about a year and a half now. And I've envisioned the apartment that I think we're going to have at some point when we move to our new city. Even if it's not at first, I do envision us. I've seen this apartment like a million times in my head, and the layout. I only see the living room and our bedroom and like kind of the kitchen area, but I have this very specific vision of what it's supposed to look like. And I truly believe we're supposed to, have that apartment at some point. So being very specific about, all of that. What does your home look like, feel like, smell like, even like what candle you have burning, right? Like be specific. What's in your fridge, on your coffee table? I love this question because this really goes back to kind of that like body aspect as well. Like what's in your kitchen? Do you have, fruits and vegetables? Do you have whole foods? Do you have meal planned foods in your fridge, right? Like I think those are super important. And then how do you spend a cozy night in? How do you spend your time in your home? What does your home feel like? These are all super important. And again, notice we're not talking about how much money you spent or how many things you ordered on Amazon, right? We're talking about your feeling, what that looks like. The next section is career and purpose, which I thought was really interesting. And there was some purpose related questions, which I thought were great. So what's your mission? What does this alter ego version of you wake up in the morning to do? Why does she wake up? How does she describe what she does to someone new? I thought this was interesting as well. Who does she serve and how do they find her? So I really had to dig in. Obviously, I'm a neurodivergent career coach. I empower women, typically from the age of 25 to 45 is usually what I'm targeting. But I really had to be specific on like, how do you describe what I do to someone new? What exactly am I doing? How am I helping women, right? And so really just doing that. And I was just talking to someone about this and saying like, I empower them. I'm a voice for people who don't have a voice. And so just putting these things into words can really help you fall back on your purpose. Because even if you love your career, right? Like I love my career. I have my own business. I love what I do. But sometimes you can get lost in the sauce, lost in the daily tasks. And so it's nice to kind of come back to your purpose. How many hours do you work a week? Ooh, love that question. What does your flow look like? Do you have a signature offering or project that you work on if you work in corporate or something you're really good at? The next section is pleasure and play. And you don't have to take this sexually, although you can, but how does she experience pleasure in all forms? And again, this is where we can talk about like, I love traveling. I love eating good foods. Like to me, that's pleasurable. What are your hobbies or ways to play? I had to think about this because like, I feel like I don't have a lot of hobbies. And I keep saying that when I move to a warmer place, that's where I'll have all my hobbies of like tanning, being in the ocean, being by the water. Like those are my hobbies, but I'm envisioning that, right? How does she treat herself when she wants to celebrate? This is a really good one. And what's her relationship to sex, sensuality, desire? It's a really good question too to ask. The next section is spirituality and inner world. So what does she believe about the universe, God, higher self? Like, again, this is whatever you believe in. Like, what do you believe? What do you want that version of yourself to believe? What daily practices keep her grounded? Now we can go back to nervous system regulation, mindset practices, prayer, meditation, visualizations, like whatever you do. What are those daily practices? Like, let's be specific so that we can actually embody that version. How does she handle fear, doubt, failure? Such a good question. How does she receive guidance or intuitive hits? I said, listening to my intuition, seeing signs, just knowing things, right? Like, so it depends on how you receive guidance and intuition, but that's how I receive it. I receive it through dreams. I get it through a gut feeling that I know. So, but look into kind of like, for you, what does that look like? What's her relationship to time, flow, and trust? I love that. I put that time is not linear and that I make up my own time because it's something I'm really trying to work on. I tend to be someone who's very structured, sometimes to my detriment, because I'm not willing to sort of change the way I do things or evolve the way I do things because it causes, I think, stress for me. I'm very like, I have my times laid out. I have very good time management, but again, it doesn't leave room for that flow and that creativeness that I'm really craving sometimes. The second to last section is style and aesthetics. So how does she dress daily? What's her signature look, her signature scent, makeup, hair? What brands or designers is she drawn to? I actually said here that I don't want to be drawn to designers and brands. I just want good quality clothes and I want to buy good quality pieces, but I don't want to be someone who's stuck on a brand. So you can even say that. Or if you're someone that loves a certain brand or designer, do that. There's no wrong answer. What kind of spaces or environments light her up? Such good questions. And then the last section is legacy and impact. So what is this person known for? What impact does she have on others and the world? I love this question because one of my goals is to have such a major impact on the world, women, supporting women. And so I really wanted to answer this question and create the version of my alter ego that really has a massive impact. What does she want people to say about her when she's not in the room? This was a triggering one, I think, a little bit, because I'm like, ooh, I'm always thinking people are saying bad things about me, but I have to realize that that's maybe not the case. And so I wrote out what I want people to say about me. And that's what I'm choosing to believe, is that people say those things about me. How does she use her voice and platform? I love that. So basically what I did is I answered all of these questions. I actually did it in ChatGPT and I responded in a voice note, and then it created a document for me that I could put into Google Doc. And I put everything down there, and now I have basically a blueprint of my alter ego that I can look at whenever I need to kind of embody that version. And it's almost like a checklist. It's almost like a checklist to say, okay, am I embodying this version of myself today? Check. Am I embodying this version? Check, check, check. You can make sure to see. Or if you're like, okay, I'm in a situation, how would my highest self version behave? How would my highest self version act? You can go to the list and say, okay, here's the section. This is how they would react and behave, right? And I just want to say that you do not need to embody your alter ego 100% of the time. I think this is what makes it great about the alter ego, is that it's somewhat detached, so that you don't feel like you have to be this person all the time, right? You don't have to be perfect or this elevated version of yourself all the time. It's okay. Nobody's perfect. Perfection doesn't exist. We've talked about that. But the goal is to embody this version as much as possible and continually try to embody this version until you become this version. That's the goal. Is you want to become this alter ego. You want this alter ego to take over and you completely be that person, because the goal is to become her, right? And you keep doing this, you keep practicing until you are your alter ego, until you've become her. So use this as a blueprint to create your alter ego, whatever that looks like for you. Definitely let me know how it goes. I love when y'all tell me either in the YouTube comments or Instagram DMs. Definitely share with me. I think it's something that's so great. It's so tangible, and it's really something that helps you detach, but also helps you manifest your goals and dreams. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, please leave a 5-star review, as it really helps boost the podcast and, of course, encourages me to do more amazing episodes like this. I hope you all have an amazing week, and I'll catch you in the next episode.